Proudly owned by Robbie Sabah and Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, by CSEA Local 830. Work for you by locally owned and operated Papa John's, proud partners of the New York Mets, and by Interstate Batteries, every battery for every need. Eddie, with the Yanks at the stadium in the Bronx, would that be considered outside your range or no?
I'm not sure. Not sure what the circumference is, but
I didn't know if that would be. I didn't know if that would be outside your actual ability to travel that far.
I think if I can walk, I can go. That's basically it.
All right, Eddie, back with the Mets after, and a lot has changed. You know, Eddie, a lot from the press conference or whatever you want to call that was done by the general manager yesterday, and in Sandy there was Sandy gave a couple of interesting little jabs in there if people paid attention, and really tweaked Cespedes a little bit about how long he's been gone. You know, I don't know if that got a lot of play, but he definitely did. If you listen to it, he did tweak him a little bit about how long he's been out.
Yeah, no, there's no question about that. Cespedes, by the way, right now is at shortstop taking ground balls.
Now, what is he doing? I mean,
he was at third base a minute ago, so now he's at shortstop.
Last year he wanted to play third base, remember?
Well, it's true. And,
yeah, he did.
And actually,
and Sandy's the one who wouldn't let him play there because the manager was going to let him play there.
Right. DeGrom actually comes out a lot and plays shortstop because he used to be a shortstop. But to be honest with you, it's good to see him on the field because, frankly, I haven't seen him very much. So, he's been kind of hidden. I will say that, you're right about Sandy. There's no question.
He definitely tweaked him a little bit. So is he prompting him maybe to make a comeback a little quicker than we had hoped, or what?
I would think so. Well, look, I think what you have is a general manager who is, kind of under fire. If this, goes south this year, and I'm not saying that it will. They're sitting at 500 at this point. It hasn't been good lately, but if it does, he's under intense pressure, and would he pay for that? Well, I think he may. So he knows that, I think, too. And thus the tweaks, I think that it would be helpful to get some people back here and get some of the people that I paid money to be in the lineup to actually be in the lineup. And
how about Frazier? He's been gone a while, too.
Well, that's this was interesting. We talked to Callaway just a short while ago, and somebody asked whether for the Yankee series, which is starting on a week from today, actually,
right.
Friday, right here at Citi Field, whether Frazier and Cespedes would be back for that. And now he said, I'm pretty sure one will be. I'm not sure that both will be. Now, Frazier is pretty close because he's already playing. He took, I think, 3 at-bats last night in Las Vegas. So what does that tell you? That tells you that maybe Cespedes won't be here for the Yankee series. That's what you can insinuate, I think, from that. So I don't know. He looks pretty spry out here today. I don't know whether that's a good sign or whether he's trying to tell us something, that, he's able to move around and can start getting a little more serious now. But, he's going to have to go for some rehab games, too. So, obviously, he's going to have to get in gear early in the week next week if he wants to be here for the Yankee series.
So, maybe no Cespedes, maybe Frazier. The one thing, I know the Mets are overjoyed with Nimmo, and, you're starting to hear comparisons to the young Murphy, which the Mets would love to have him. But you're starting to hear, we think he's starting to blossom the same way Murphy did.
It's interesting. I was just talking to Pat Russell, the hitting coach, about Nimmo, and Hank Porto, too, but Nimmo in particular. And, this kid is, like, opened eyes this year. What I was bringing up to Pat was, remember back early in spring training when everybody wanted to get rid of Nimmo for Josh Harrison. Remember Josh Harrison with the Pirates? They needed help, and Nimmo was thrown out there. Why wouldn't you do that? I wasn't really in favor of it. I mean, I like Josh Harrison, but I also looked at Nimmo, and this is a kid who gets better every year. He just does. To me, he gets bigger, he gets stronger, he gets better, he works hard, he hustles, he plays hard. I don't think you want to turn your back on a kid like that. And they always felt he could hit. Maybe it's taking a little bit longer. And against lefties, I think he still has work to do. But, one thing that he is getting right now with all the injuries is he's playing all the time and he's hitting, against lefties and getting more reps against lefties. So that can do nothing but help him. So, I like him a lot. I think they like him a lot. And obviously, I think fans of taken to him, too, for that matter.
And, the Mesoraco deal, I mean, here's Mesoraco batting cleanup. I mean, that might be a little much, but he has had some big hits for the Mets so far.
Yeah, he has. He's, they're more impressed, I think, with his work behind.
His catching's excellent. Yes, that's no question. Yes.
And he's, listen, what was interesting today is that they brought up another catcher. They brought up Jose Lobaton. They brought him back, and they sent Scott Copeland out, one of the pitchers. They needed another bench player. They only had 3 bench players last night. But basically what they're doing is, they have 3 catchers here, and with all the Cubs have 3 lefties in this series. They'll have a righty tonight in Chatwood. But Montgomery goes tomorrow. They had a lefty last night. Lester's going Sunday. So they have Pawlicki here, and you may see him take a turn to first base possibly. They want to get some righty bats in the lineup, but, they've been kind of few and far between. If you move Bruce there, he's just another lefty bat. They have Gonzalez there tonight. So they're trying to get some righty bats in while they're minus Frazier and Cespedes, and that was the reason they brought Lobaton back. But you're right, Mesoraco he's done a terrific job. He really has. I think he's been more than what they bargained for, and that was a good deal. For Harvey, for Mesoraco, that worked out well.
Eddie, you've probably, of the people who cover the team day to day, you've probably been around the team the longest. I don't think there's anyone there probably as longer than you. So you've seen them come and seen them go. Do you get the idea that this manager is good at explaining himself, in that it just seems to me that he has a lot of trouble either getting you completely to understand what his ideas were, or what he was thinking in a situation, or what he's looking to do long term? It seems like the message that he may be trying to get out is having trouble getting out.
Yeah, I would agree. It's I call it, is it mumbo or is it jumbo? Take your pick. And I'm not listening. Mickey's a smart guy. He knows what he's doing. But I don't think he has expressed himself well in certain instances, and especially in the last week in particular, in Atlanta and in Milwaukee. There are things that it's kind of doublespeak in a way. I'm not quite sure exactly what the plan was going in. I mean, he says he has plans. He works that. The Lugo thing in particular was interesting to me. I didn't really get that. Not just not bringing in Familia, but he was going to pitch 2 innings, so those were the 2 innings. If not, he was going to pitch 2 innings in the next game. I think sometimes you can have a plan, but sometimes you have to adjust that plan, and I think you have to win the game. And I think that's the most important thing. And he's always been, at least he has said he has been about that, but sometimes I think some of the actions have contradicted that. Let's put it that way. And the message that he has delivered after the game sometimes has been confusing to me anyway. And I'm sure it's been confusing to others.
And I think it's been confusing to some of his pitches because he's used them.
Probably.
He's used Familia, Blevins in very unorthodox ways.
He has. There's no question. Familia is not a complainer, but I know Jury's pretty well, being around him over the years, and I don't think he was real happy that he came out the other day and did not pitch the 9th inning. 2 days prior, he had pitched the 8th and the 9th. And I simply asked him, I said, were you told that you were just pitching the 8th? He said, no. He said, it just worked out that way. And like I said, he didn't complain. But
hey, that's his neighborhood. That's his neighborhood. That's his job.
Yeah,
yes,
it is. And I think he expected to pitch the 8th of the 9th because he had done it 2 days before. And I think he was rested and ready to do it. And they went to Gesellman. And listen, it worked out. That's the bottom line. It worked out. And like I said, he's not a complainer. He doesn't care. But I think that he was a little bit surprised that didn't happen. So whether that was told to him beforehand, I'm not quite sure. But I don't think it was. Let's put it that way. So I think, Lugo is another one too. I thought he would pitch the game on Monday, but it was up in the air right up until I guess the day of, for that matter. And eventually, he did get the start on Thursday. So I think that's been a little confusing. I'm not sure he knows when he's going to get the next start. I do know that Matt's through a bullpen here, and he's going to start on Sunday. They haven't announced that yet, but I'm pretty sure. I talked to Steve just a little while ago, and he's expecting to go Sunday. Beyond that, I don't know, because they have an off day Monday, they have an off day Thursday, the Orioles for 2 in between, and then the Yankees series after that. But So they haven't really mapped out beyond that, but I'm pretty sure Mats will be going Sunday.
Talking with Eddie C. about the Mets as they get ready to take on the Cubbies this weekend, and then, of course, looking ahead a week to the Yankee series, which will be next Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday night, all-night games at Citi Field. Eddie, do you think Reyes is on really thin ice here? Do you think he's about to get cut off this team?
Boy, it's hard to say, Mike. I honestly, I thought it might have happened already. At least that was the vibe I was feeling. But, you know, he has been a real positive influence on Rosario. Rosario loves having him around, and Rosario is starting to take off right now.
He really is. So, in every way, with power, speed, glove, everything.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I know people were marveling at the triple the other day and, kind of like vintage Reyes, whatever. But
how about the way he turned second base? He was like a blur.
Yes, that's true.
And then the play made in the field saved the game.
That saved the game. Absolutely saved the game. That saved Amelia in that eighth inning and saved the game down in Atlanta. No question about it. Terrific play. The thing I've been most impressed with him about, and he's done better with the strike zone. He has great plate coverage, and I think that's what's always helped him because he's always kind of swung at balls outside the strike zone. Some he can make contact with, some not. But I think he's doing a much better job with that. But the thing that impresses me the most about him, several times this year, he scored from first base on hits that I didn't think he could score, and he has. So that's a weapon to have when you can do that.
And he's got some power too. He has some power.
He does have pop. Yeah, he has pop. He's a guy that he might be eventually a 20 home run guy. From that spot. I know home runs have gone up for a lot of middle infielders, but I don't think you would have thought that a couple of years ago. But he's very impressive. But back to Reyes, it's just hard it's very hard for Jose. If you remember, he did hit eventually last year, but there were injuries and he played a lot, and that you knew that was going to come around. He's done this long enough. The at-bats just aren't there for him, and it's been very tough for him, and I don't know if it will ever click in, and that's part of the problem. If it doesn't, at some point, he's going to pay for it. But I don't sense it, imminently, but, I don't know. I've felt it before, but it hasn't happened yet.
And the other two, Eddie, is that Bruce and Conforto just haven't kicked in. I mean, the Mets, when you look at it, they had four guys who were going to be in the middle of the lineup. You had Cespedes, Frazier, Conforto, and Bruce, and two have been hurt, and two of them haven't done anything all year. And they need to get all four of them going at the same time. They haven't even get any of the four going.
Yeah, they haven't had him in the lineup. That's part of the problem. Together, I don't worry much about Conforto. I mean, I think that he will come around, and I think he's starting to come around now. I really do. I think he'll go on a tear at some point. Like I said, I don't worry about him much, and I don't even think they do. I know the hitting coach does. And Bruce is another story. He hasn't really caught fire. I think he will at some point because he usually ends up with the same numbers pretty much every year that you think about. But it really hasn't happened for him yet. And I think he's pressing a little bit. I know it's hard to say after the tough introduction he had to New York, and then he really kind of settled in and played well last year. But I do think he feels it a little bit simply because of the guys that are out of the lineup, and he knows that this team needs the offense, and they need it from him right now, and it just hasn't come. So hopefully he can relax a little bit and maybe kick it in.
All right, Eddie, enjoy your weekend with the Mets and the Cubbies, and then let me know if you're traveling to anytime in the near future. Yeah,
I shall do, Mike. All
Thanks,
right.
Eddie C. with the Mets. Back after this.